Did you know that you have no limits in life? Only the limits that you place upon you. You see, critics are these people that will never receive a statue, but they always speak of things as being impossible, when you've constantly and consistently overcome the impossible. Impossible is this word juggled around by lazy people that know not what they say, nor do they know what they do, because when you break down the word impossible, it simply says, I am possible.
My book, I wrote a book, and I often don't talk about it. I wrote a book called When the Tear Won't Fall. And the title of the book came from When the Tear Won't Fall. And the title of the book came from my dad's funeral. When I went to the funeral and I was sitting right here where this young lady is sitting. In fact, let me change that. I was sitting where he was because I was at the end of the pew. And my father laid right here. And I looked around the church and everyone was bawling and crying and falling out and screaming and all kinds of emotional reactions to this man dying. Yet I had nothing. I didn't cry. All I could do was look at, but I did ask myself one question. How could this guy figure out how to impart himself on so many people that they would respond in that manner at his death, but he couldn't find that same thing to impart on me? So even at his death, I'm still left out. Even at his funeral, being there to honor him, I was still left out. And that was his fault, not mine. But I was angry about that because what I began saying to myself is all the questions that I had for him was buried that day. Any question that I had for my father, I could never get. He died with every question. He died with every answer to every question I have. And I made a commitment that day that none of my children will ever watch me lowered into the ground with a question. I don't care what it is. And so, because I know what that anger looks like in working with the men that we are working with, particularly young boys, their anger is, and they will deny it, right? No, I ain't mad at that dude, F him. Well, wait a minute, why are you saying F him? That comes from somewhere. That didn't just come, because you don't say that to the average dude you don't know. So where's that come from? To acting out in school, to being defiant against women, right? To even doing things to hurt themselves. What's in your heart making you so cold and angry?
And when I got to be 16, I was playing football for the high school football team. Thought I was the man. Some girl told me I was cute, and I believed her. Started running the streets, because I experienced death. And the death was, I was a little church boy. I was a little kid that got on everybody's nerves at every little Sunday school program. I was the one up there saying something, and all the kids would go, oh, here he go again, And then the lady who brought me to church, she died when I was 16. And the way that she died was just like, they told me to come to the hospital to see her. So I went to the hospital, expecting, to see her just laying in a hospital bed. But what I saw was death. And she was laying there. She had asthma all her life, and she was suffering from pneumonia. So that's, lung problems on top of a lung infection. And she died a few days later. When she died, I got angry. And I got angry at God. And the reason I got angry at God is I said, here's a woman who did everything she was supposed to do. She taught Sunday school. I remember her bringing dope fiends in the house, and sitting at the table and feeding them the same Campbell's tomato soup and cheese sandwiches that she was feeding me. I mean, this is a woman who did everything right, and she died so wrong. So I decided that, all of this church mess, all of this spiritual mess, all of that was just nonsense. So I started doing me. When I started getting high at 19 on a bet, my man bet me that the 76ers was going to beat the Lakers for the NBA championship. And if I won, I had to pay $50. And if he won, I had to smoke a joint with him. I lost. And not only did I lose, then I couldn't smoke weed because I sinned. So, I didn't want to mess up my throat. So cocaine became my drug of choice. And, I continued on this downward spiral until like 1989. And the only bright spot that happened in between, say, 1983 when I started getting high and say 1990 was that my daughter was born in October 1989. And that was the first time I kind of recognized that there had to be something greater than me, because I saw this beautiful baby laying there. I said, there has to be something better than me. But it was too late. On February 5th, 1990, I was in my house. I've been sniffing coke all weekend, smoking weed, and then taking Valiums to try to come down because I was getting too high, drinking Bacardi, and that Molotov cocktail of drugs told me that, you know, if there was no more apartment, there would be no more problems. I hadn't been paying the rent. I was living with my grandfather. My grandfather had a 6th grade education. He was really my father. You know, he only had a 6th grade education. He worked in the Diamond Club at Shea Stadium with the Mets, washing dishes. And that morning I got up, took the 72-hour notices, took all of the past due bills and turned off notices from cable electricity, put them on the table, and I lit them on fire. I don't know what I was thinking. And my mother on the phone. She said, the police are looking for you. I said, what happened? She said, they're looking for you. They said there was a fire at your house. So I turned myself into the cops. What I didn't know was that the fire spread from my apartment to the apartment over mine. There was an 87-year-old woman who lived in the apartment over mine. Her name was Marjorie Stiles. Marjorie Stiles had a home attendant who was there in the house with her. When the home attendant smelled smoke, she got up and ran out and left Miss Stiles there. Miss Stiles died from smoke inhalation, and then her body was burned beyond recognition. And what they did to me was, when I was in the precinct, they brought a picture of Marjorie Stiles' body burned down on the bed and showed it to me. I broke down crying, and they told me that you would never see your daughter again. I went to Rikers Island, spent 16 months on Rikers Island. Now, Rikers Island now is a kiddie camp compared to Rikers Island in 1990. Rikers Island in 1990 was nothing but gangs. That's when the Bloods was first coming to New York. Crips was Latin Kings, Nietas, you know, anything you could think of was there, and it was wild, it was crazy. I mean, officers was stabbing dudes with ice picks. It was crazy. I mean, I was there when they had the riot and they shut down the bridge and the officers was on duty for 36, 48 hours. And I mean, I saw every bit of man's inhumanity to man, but somewhere in there I said I needed something. So I went to the mosque, I hung out with the Muslim brothers. They gave me my name. My name was gonna be Brother Abdul Malik. I had my mosque, I had my Quran under my arm and everything, but I was going every Friday, but I wasn't feeling nothing. And every time they said, brother, you wanna take your Shahada today? I was like, but then I met this brother, and his wife and my wife were visiting every day, and I found out he was a musician. And me being a singer and him being a musician, we clicked. And every night I would see him sitting on his bed reading the Bible. So I'd be like, come on, man, let's go play spades. Let's go play ball. Let's go do something. He's like, nah, I'm doing my devotional. I said, what devotional what? He said, come on, just read this one. I was like, I ain't trying to read that, man. And finally, he got me to read a couple of verses, a couple of scriptures. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But he said, come with me to church. So I said, all right. Church is 7:30 in the morning on Rikers Island. I don't do 7:30 in the morning for nobody. So I was like, Josh, man, I ain't going to church. He said, come on. So finally one Sunday he got me up to go to church. So we get down there and this dude gets up there and he starts preaching, right? And he's telling my business. Like he knew me, like he knew everything about me. This guy's just telling like my life story. So I looked at Josh and I said, this is exactly why I don't go to church. Because, see, you was supposed to be my man, and you done came out here and told these cats all my business. So, as a matter of fact, the minute we walk out of here, I'm going to punch you dead in your face. But something grabbed me that morning. Pulled me up to the front, because he said something that stuck with me. He said, anybody who calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Now, I don't want to get too preachy, and I don't want to be, the quintessential reverend, but I just need you to understand that decision to give myself over to something greater than myself was the beginning of the cessation of all this pent-up anger that I had in me. It was the beginning of being able to let go of and start to forgive my father for not being around the way I wanted him to be around. It was the beginning of being able to forgive my mom for being an alcoholic who would bust me in the head with a glass one time because I left my keys in the house, and used to embarrass me in front of my friends and come outside drunk and make me feel real stupid, and my friends would tease me and act like they had the hiccups and act like they was drunk because they was imitating my mother. I had to forgive myself for all of the stuff that I'd done, especially this fire. So my life started to change slowly, and finally when I got sentenced and they sent me to Sing Sing. Biggest cell blocks in the world. I believe that back then, I think they changed the numbers, but back then the A block cells ran up to 706 and the B block cells ran up to 680. So 680 cells in B block, 700 and something cells in A block. It was madness. You had 5 buildings in between, 7 buildings, which is Onadorn, and then down the hill, you had Tapan, which was the medium security. They sent me to B block because I was transit, but I decided something. I said, you know what? The guy that walked in here can't be the same guy that walks out. I need to do something with my life. So signed up, went to college, and went to Mercy College for a year. Mercy College had behavioral sciences, but I really wasn't interested in that. But Bronx Community College had a paralegal studies program, and I was definitely interested in that. So I went to Bronx Community College, went to Mercy College for a year, got switched over from transient to permanent status at Sing Sing, and then I went to Bronx Community College, graduated with a 3.8 average. I realized something. I realized that I was smart. I realized that, you know, my intelligence wasn't based on how good I could sing or how many girls I could get, but I actually had a way of thinking strategically and logically, and I could actually do schoolwork and write papers. I had professors who were judges telling me, you shouldn't stop here, you should go to law school. But then 1995, Governor George Pataki, who I'm sure you're all a little familiar with up here in the Albany area, knocked the college programs in the head. So
That's right.
Then I went to the board in 96. So I'm figuring they gave me 6 2/3 to 20, the full satisfaction of the indictment. I'd done 6 2/3 to go to the board in August of 1996, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going home. I was going back to the music business, going back to singing. You know, I was going to go to church and make sure I had a church home, but I was going back to singing. And then I went to the board and they hit me with 2 years, and I couldn't understand it. Here I maintained an A average in college. I did everything right. I worked for the deputy superintendent of programs. So you know, I'm mad again because I'm like, yo, what was all of that for? Why did I even bother? Thank you, sir. But the 2 years that I had there made me realize that there was a greater call on my life. The chaplain at Sing Sing then was Reverend Hunt. Reverend Hunt called me down to his office one day, and he said exactly this. And we ain't in the church, so I'm gonna say some stuff that don't sound preacherly, if that's all right with y'all. He said, son, my ass is in the fire. I need you to get my ass out the fire. And I said, what you mean, Doc? He said, I need somebody to run this church when I'm not here. And I said, well, run the church, he said, you're not an inmate. He said, when you walk through the doors of the Chapel of the Redeemer, you're no longer an inmate, you're a child of God. And I became his assistant. I ran the church there for about 2 or 3 years. Finally, I went back to the board in 98, hit the ground running. Let me go. Started working for the Osborne Association. My first job getting out of prison was as a court advocate. So now, here I am, 3 months out the penitentiary, standing in front of judges saying, Your Honor, please don't lock this young man up. He has a promising future. And I'm saying, and the judges wondered why. He says, Mr. Ferguson, I understand it's a great presentation, but why are you laughing? And I said, Your Honor, you don't want to know. He says, no, I do want to know. I said, I'm laughing because God has a sense of humor. I said, because 3 months ago, I was where you're trying to send him. And now here I am in front of a judge, keeping other people out of prison. Right? New York Theological Seminary, who was there in Sing Sing, who have some folks that I know are graduates of, they had a prison program, and I went through their certificate program, so they called me and said they were starting a program to do gang outreach in Harlem. Sent 5 dudes to churches in Brooklyn, 5 church dudes to churches in Harlem. So they said, we want to send you to the Abyssinian Baptist Church. I said, I don't want to go to that church. That's a stuck-up church, man. Them people, come on, I ain't trying to go there. So they said, go there, go there. He said, no, I don't want to go to that bougie church. So they said, well, if you want to do this program, and you want this $25,000 a year to work part-time. You better go. So I went to Abyssinian Baptist Church. Started doing gang outreach there. Within a year and a half, Dr. Butts called me to his office and said, my youth minister is leaving for another church. I want you to be the youth minister. And I started laughing again. And he said, what's so funny? I said, I know God has a sense of humor now. I said, because here I am less than 2 years out the penitentiary. And here I am in the office of one of the biggest preachers in one of the biggest churches in the country. And he wants me to come on board as a youth minister. I don't have no master's degree. I didn't go to Morehouse. I'm not a part of Kappa Alpha Psi. I'm not a frat boys. But here you want me to, he said, yes, because you are exactly what the church needs. I served at Abyssinian for 5 years. And the only thing that my wife died. My wife contracted cancer. First, my mother died from lupus in February of 2001. And then the next year in September 2002, my wife died. Angry again. Mad again. Why would God take them from me? But God reminded me of something. He said, I allowed your mother to see you in the pulpit of one of the biggest churches in America. I allowed your wife to see you preach in front of Johnny Cochran and Cicely Tyson and actors and potentates. And your wife got you to see you go to Washington, D.C. and get an award from Sojourners Magazine and stand there and get an award called the Amos Award that was given to Barack Obama a couple of years after I got it. I got it before him. And you have this beautiful daughter who grew up beautiful and strong and smart and went to college on a full academic scholarship to one of the greatest universities, Washington University in St. Louis. She went there on a full academic scholarship. Her 4-year education is worth $278,000, and I paid exactly nothing for the whole thing. But I'm still mad. I'm still angry. And I was able to, unlike Ken, have a conversation with my father. First time me, my father, and my mother sat down and had a meal together was in the visiting room at Sing Sing. And when I finally got a chance to sit down with my father after my mother was gone, because my mother really didn't want me to have nothing to do with my father. But I sat down with my father and I said, why did you leave me out there like that? You got 2 younger kids. They live with you. Why didn't you come get me? Why didn't you come see about me when I was messing up in high school? Why didn't you say something to me when you saw me in the street and you knew I was high? Why didn't you do that? And he said, son, he said, I love you. He said, do you remember all the times your grandmother used to take you shopping at Macy's when you was a kid? I said, yeah. He said, that was me. And I said, man, you didn't give my grandmother did that. Why are you gonna try to say that now? My grandmother been dead, and now all of a sudden you want to take credit for what she did. So I went to my grandfather, and I said, hey, he said, no, that was your father. And I went back to my father and I apologized. Me and him sat down and had a conversation. And in the course of that conversation, he told me that he had cancer and he was dying. And he said, son, he said, when I die, he said, I need you to do something for me. I said, what? He said, I need you to take care of everything. I said, what do you mean? He said, take care of all my arrangements. He said, I have 2 preachers in the world, one I love and one I trust. And one of them has to preach my eulogy. And I said, well, who's the 2 preachers? He said, Calvin O. Butts, Pastor Abyssinian, is the one I trust. He said, and Darren A. Ferguson is the one I love. And when my father died in June of 2005, I preached his eulogy. You know what I called the eulogy? I called it a real American hero. Because my father had been abandoned by his mother when he was a baby because she had the baby for this white man. And didn't want other people to know that she had a son, and put him in foster care, and married and had 2 more children. And then when her second husband and her divorced, then she brought my father around. He was baptized by Adam Clayton Powell in the Abyssinian Baptist Church in 1949. I found out my father's whole life story. I realized that the way he was with me is the way I am with my daughter now. I sit back and let her make her mistakes. And if she makes some mistakes and she falls, my arms are open to catch her. And my father's arms were open to catch me, even as he wasted away from lung cancer. And when he died, I want to say that the anger subsided, but it didn't. Because I'm still angry. I'm angry to this day. The reason why I titled my book, How I Became an Angry Black Man, is because I tried to get rid of my anger by working myself half to death. I tried to get rid of my anger by going out and preaching in every church that I could and talking to every young person that I could. And in the early 2000s, out there in Harlem, running up in gang ciphers like somebody's crazy. I was running right up in blood ciphers in a robe on Sunday morning. And they was looking at me like I was crazy, because I was. Because I was so angry, I had to do something. I was tired of preaching funerals for 16-year-old kids, and I was tired of going to baby blessings for 14-year-old girls, and I was tired of seeing brothers mad and angry and unable to relate to their children because of all the stuff and all of the water under the bridge. They felt they weren't worthy of their children's love, so they never tried to get it. They never reached out to them to try to get their children's love. And I saw my father in all of that. I saw myself in all of that. And even as I went from Abyssinia to the hip hop church to Mount Carmel Baptist Church, my anger still won't completely leave me. I'm still dealing with it. And my anger now, my drug of choice now is pork chops. Can I be totally transparent with y'all?
That's right.
That's what I do. I don't drink no more. I haven't had a drink since 1990. I don't smoke no more. But what I do is I go and I cook lasagna and all kinds of crazy stuff when I'm upset and I'm angry. And I'm standing, and when Ken asked me to do this, I said that I was going to come here and I was going to say something to y'all that I've never said to anybody else in my life. Because I'm angry about stuff that starts to come back to me about my youth that I don't even remember. I didn't remember for years. I repressed so many memories, man. There's so much stuff inside of me that I didn't even know was there. And how do you deal with that? How do you put that to the side and become a normal, functioning individual? How do you love somebody when you're having trouble loving yourself because of all the stuff that you did? How can you effectively love a woman when you've been molested as a child? I put it in the back. My mother's friend's son molested me when I was about 6 years old, telling me it was a wrestling move. And I'm angry about that. I wish I could get him for 5 minutes in the room so I could express to him exactly how angry I am about what he did to me. Because I didn't deserve that. I wish that I could bring Marjorie Stiles back and tell her that I'm sorry. Because I shouldn't have done that. I want to blame her nurse's aide for leaving her. But there shouldn't have been a fire for her to run out from. That was my fault. And I don't want to admit that all the time. It's not fun to say that I was wrong and I messed up. Every time I look at my daughter, I think about the 8 years and 8 months of her life that I missed because I was behind bars. I remember having to tell her, I remember when her mother got sick and she started crying. And they had to call the jail for me to call home to talk to my daughter because she was inconsolable. She was screaming at the top of her lungs. So when I got on the phone, I said, baby, what's the matter? She was screaming. She said, Mommy's in the hospital. And I said, she's coming home, baby. She said, but you're in the hospital. They told me that you're in the hospital. So if you're in the hospital and Mommy's in the hospital, if she stays in the hospital like you did, who's going to take care of me? I'm angry because I had to sit there on a conjugal visit and tell my daughter that they hit me at the board. And the look on her face when I had to tell her daddy's not coming home. But I also remember the glimmer of hope when she said, so you're never coming home? I said, nah, baby, I'll go back to the board in 2 years. And she said, oh, okay. So you'll be home then, right? And I was home then. And I've been home since then. And I'm dealing with my anger. And I'm dealing with my issues. And I'm trying to help other people deal with their anger and deal with their issues. But one of the things that we have to do as men, especially men of color, we have to learn to open up sometimes. And I know, listen, man, nobody wants to seem like a punk. Nobody wants to seem soft. Nobody wants to see him standing in front of a bunch of dudes in a room and crying and snotting at the nose and all that mess. Don't nobody want to expose their vulnerability to a whole bunch of dudes you don't even know, or you don't know who's going to try to use that against you. But what's the alternative if we don't? We walk around with this ticking time bomb inside of us that it's real easy to unleash the Kraken. If somebody says the wrong thing or does the wrong thing. There's certain things that people can still say to me right now that just takes me there. And I need to deal with that. Because if I don't, I'm always gonna be one bad decision away from going back to jail. And this time as a predicate felon. I ain't going back. Straight up. I'm not. People say never. I'm not going back to jail. LL Cool J said he going back to Cali. I'm not going back to jail. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because I made a decision a few months ago. And the decision is I'm going to take care of myself. I'm gonna talk out all of this stuff that I need to talk out. That all of the folk in my life that I've heard, I had the opportunity to talk to my older sister and apologize to her for borrowing $100 from her when she worked at American Express, and she was bragging everybody about her brother, the singer that was coming down to the job. And I showed up down there looking like I'd been up high for 3 days, which I was. I was able to apologize to my mother and my father. But you know what? There's one person that being here tonight made me realize that I never apologized to. I never apologized to my daughter. I've never apologized to her. And I know, being the beautiful, conscientious, intelligent, almost 24-year-old that she is, she'll say, Dad, it's all right. But it's not all right. I left her alone from the time she was 3 months old until 2 weeks before her 9th birthday. That's not all right. She took her first steps in the visitor room at C73. That's not all right. She saw her parents kiss for the first time in the visitor room. That's not all right. It's not. And I owe her an apology. I've already had the opportunity to apologize to Miss Styles' family and be forgiven by them. So what's locked in my heart that makes me angry and cold? It's not anything anybody did to me. It's the bad decisions that I made. And it's not comfortable admitting that I did stuff wrong. And it's not comfortable admitting that I messed up and I fell short. And it's not comfortable standing here in front of folk that I don't even know, being completely transparent and completely vulnerable. But every movie that I saw about Superman, after the kryptonite, when he hits the rays of the yellow sun again, Superman comes back stronger. Every single time. And I know Superman ain't real, but boy, did I love Superman as a kid. I'm going to see the movie. I'm going. Can't wait to see Iron Man. I love all those movies, because after the fall, every good superhero movie, Batman, see the Dark Knight Rises last year, after every fall, the hero comes back stronger. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm the hero in this play called my life. And I fell. And I got hit with kryptonite. And the Joker and the Riddler and the Lizard and Electro and the Green Goblin and all of them got after me. It got me in a bad place. Had me messed up, mask off, utility belt gone, web shooters broken, cape ripped. But I get to write the end of this. I get to write the finale of this. And in this finale, I don't need a cape, and I don't need web shooters. I don't need the rays of the yellow sun. I need to stand on my own 2 feet, plant my feet, square my shoulders, look at myself in the mirror, and say, yo, we can do this, man. We can solve problems in our community by doing this thing called Starve the Beast. We can empower people in the community to understand that it's not the cop's job to clean up our neighborhood, it's our job. We can go and tell brothers, yo, man, you need to get your behind up. We going to the projects at 6 o'clock in the morning and we gonna pray. I don't believe in prayer. Well, guess what? You're gonna stand there and hold hands and we're gonna be a presence in that community. I don't care if you believe in God or not. But we're gonna show the people in this community that there are men, black men, who look like them. We're gonna show these young black boys that there's men that look like them. Maybe we're not their fathers, but we can be there as a father should have been and maybe could have been, and say that we care about the hood. We care about you killing yourselves up. I am going to go in my church and refuse to be a pimp in the pulpit like so many of my other contemporaries. And not worry about how much money I'm getting or what kind of car I'm driving, and simply worrying about doing good for folk. I don't charge for weddings, I don't charge for funerals, and I will not ever put a price tag on anything I do, because I've been empowered by something greater than me to go out and do something that I never thought I could be, and that's be the hero. And it's not wearing a cape, and it's not having millions of dollars in the back cave. And it's not having powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men and able to bend steel in your bare hands. And I don't have to be disguised as Clark Kent, a reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper. Maybe I can say something that'll make a difference in somebody's life. Maybe giving that brother who came to church with alcohol in his breath a hug and telling him you welcome in this place. That's being the hero. Standing a little 16-year-old girl up in front of the church that's pregnant about 8 months and telling the people in the church, y'all better not say nothing about her, because all of the mentoring that was supposed to happen did not happen. So now our job is to help her bring forth a healthy baby and not put your mouth on her. To tell the young man, yo, come to church as you are, man. You don't need a suit. But if you keep coming and you want to come, we'll buy you a suit. That's being the hero. Being there showing my daughter's 20, she'd kill me if she knew I was telling you all this, so don't show her the video. Edit this part out. This is being edited out now. She's still a virgin at 23 years old because she said, I've never met a man who's worthy of me, because I taught her that. I taught her to never cast her pearls before swine. That's being a hero. So, Fergie Man, it's my superhero name in case you didn't know, came to Albany because this, as far as I'm concerned, this is the Avengers, right here. This is the Justice League, right here. And I get to stand here amongst other heroes and potential heroes and say to you that we're better together than we ever could have been apart. And if you use your anger as a springboard to be something better, like the Hulk. Just thought of this. Use your anger to make you something better, like the Hulk. That's a sermon, but I ain't gonna preach it tonight. That we can do something special. We can save the world. Maybe if not the whole planet, maybe a corner, block. Kid, family, basketball team, who knows? But I thank you, because the hero in me honors the hero in you. And I thank you for allowing me to be me. God bless you.
Rejoice. How gifted is it to be you? Did you know that out of 7+ billion people, there's only one of you? You are completely gifted and original, stunning and beautiful. Rejoice! How gifted is it to be you? Did you know that out of 70% of your day, you spend it with you? What type of words do you say when it's just you talking to you? What type of face do you display in the mirror when it looks back at you? Did you know that those very words creates this life that surrounds you? Rejoice! How gifted is it to be you? Just you being awake strikes fear in the hearts of evil. Because when you're productive with your day, and you and all the rest of you, this is what haters say. This is what haters do. They H haters. Have attitudes towards everyone reaching success. My people, you are blessed. How gifted is it to be you?